Will Smith. Yes, that Will Smith. The open hand, slap Chris Rock in the face, Will Smith. Stay tuned, and we'll talk about it. Well, good evening, and welcome back to another episode of Explain, another week where we engage the culture from a biblical perspective in a manner which glorifies God. Before I go any further, I want to wish all of you guys a happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day. What a wonderful day this is to remember and commemorate our country's freedom. And also to remember all who fought for this country's freedom. And no, if you're wondering, I am not coming to you live here on July 4th. It's not like everybody else is outside having a good time and I'm cooped up in the studio or something like that. That's not what's going on here. It is currently where I am. It is July 3rd. But this episode will be reaching you on July 4th. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope you have a great day with family, friends, however you celebrate. And I hope it's good. But today we are going to be talking about something that is very, very interesting. You know, from time to time that I like to comment on stuff that's going on in the Christian music industry, particularly because I find it so fascinating on so many different levels. You know, you have so many different corners of CCM, I guess you could call it, Christian contemporary music, and so many different personalities. And the more that I see the way that some people are in contemporary Christian music, and then the way that other people are, meaning the way that they behave, and even some of the songs that they write, I'm starting to see that there is such a wide array of different people, different opinions, different worldviews, which may not necessarily be a good thing all the time, because we are supposed to at least have quite a few things in common about our worldview as Christians, right? We've talked before about we did an episode. Me and Colby did an episode a while back about cursing in Christian songs. Believe it or not, apparently that's a thing. As weird as that sounds, we talked about the Dove Awards. I think it was last year, the Dove Awards, and Derek Webb, and who knows what the Dove Awards are going to be like this year. We also have spent some time talking about John Cooper, the frontman of Skillet, who is by all definitions just a wonderful, solid guy. Man, I can't say enough good things about him. But he released a book a while back that he got a lot of flack for, even for the title of the book, before the book even came out. Well, it turns out I have that book right here. I think it's right here. Yeah, right here. Wimpy, Weak, and Woke. Okay, so because people have such thin skin these days, they got offended even by the title before they even had to hear out what John Cooper had to say. So we did an episode on that. I think we also did an episode on Dante Bowe. That was way back, where he had kind of a falling out with Maverick City Music. And that's kind of more of the type of, I guess, Christian music that we're talking about today. Kirk Franklin. All right. Now, people have a lot of different opinions about him. Most people would say he's a phenomenal, talented musician. And I would say that that's 100% the case. But it's just so interesting. You see, the different people that he collaborates with. Now, and I might let me just say this before we get into this. And you guys out there might disagree with me. I don't care. It's not that big of a deal if you do. Not going to hurt my feelings or anything. But I don't have a problem with people in Christian music collaborating with someone who I would say is not a Christian artist. You see that type of thing all the time, honestly. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, you've seen who is it? I think For King and Country has done, collabs, they call it, songs where they bring on a guest or where they go as a guest onto someone else's song. They've done collabs, you could say, with people that aren't necessarily Christian artists or wouldn't identify as Christian artists. I think there's been a lot of like country singers who have, gone on and done, music with Christian artists and stuff like that. And I don't really have a problem with that. It's not that big of a deal. But I do feel a little weird about this one. Okay, I do, and I'll explain why. Let's just read this post. This post is by Samuel Say, great brother. Has a lot of great things to contribute here. He's got a lot of good things to say. Samuel Say has a lot of good things to say. All right, whatever. Anyway, forget that I said that. Samuel Say, he posted this. Will Smith slapped Chris Rock live on television, and now he's come out with a gospel song, though he's a Scientologist. This is maybe the cringiest thing Will Smith and Kirk Franklin have ever done, and that's saying a lot. And so, I mean, if you didn't catch that, that video, that clip, when it came out, I am going to have Samuel Say's post linked in the description of this video so that you can go and check it out. But needless to say, man, what a crazy career trajectory here for both of these guys, honestly. I mean, you got Will Smith, who he's had just such a crazy life, and he's an avowed open Scientologist. We'll get into that in a second. And then he goes on live television and slaps Chris Rock in the face. Just open-handed slap, right? Just like not even a fist, right? Just slaps him right across the face, Anyway, so you have that, and then he kind of he kind of goes out of the limelight for a little while. And then now he's back. When I saw that video, I was like, that cannot be Will Smith. But it was. And then there's another interesting thing happening here as well. I don't know Kirk Franklin personally. I don't really keep up with him or follow him too closely or anything like that. But I'm just going to objectively document some of the things that have happened with him over the past couple of months. I think it's been over the past couple of months. Maybe over the past several months. There was a clip going around of him like dancing provocatively on the stage with a woman, like right up against one of the backup singers, I guess, that he had on the stage, which kind of made some people feel weird, I guess. I don't want to comment too much on that because who knows? I didn't really get involved too much in that whole conversation. But then also there was more recently a clip where Kirk Franklin saw Vice President Harris in the crowd of his concert and invited her up on the stage and kind of like danced with her and stuff. So yeah, there have been some questionable things that have happened, involving him. No matter what you think about that, it is going to be what it is. If I remember right, I think in this clip also Chandler Moore of Maverick City Music is involved in this song. And again, so the question becomes now we've kind of covered those the career trajectory, at least recent trajectory of those two men. I have seen Kirk Franklin start to reach out a little bit more into like the secular world a little bit more than he has in the past. I would say. I mean, he did in the past, but then I feel like he kind of went back, into more like a strictly Christian type of circle, and then he's kind of reached back out into the secular world. And again, I don't like objectively broadly have a problem with that. Like if you're like boldly proclaiming and preaching the gospel, and you have a secular audience. You're so good at music that you have a secular audience, and the secular world maybe hates your guts because you you preach the gospel, but they can't get rid of you because because you make them too much money or something. Great, that's fine. I got no problem with that. No problem at all with that. But I guess it depends upon the way in which you do it. So the things that have been happening recently with the people that Kirk Franklin has been dealing with and collaborating with, I guess that's made some people uncomfortable. But I'm here to talk about this clip, okay? So in order to correctly understand what's going on here and kind of comment on what's going on here and tell you why I feel like this clip specifically, okay? You can think what you want about those other things, about the, kind of the things that led up to this with Will Smith and with Kirk Franklin. I really don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I haven't even really spent too much time thinking about what I think about those things, okay? But I have spent some time thinking about this clip and why it makes me a little bit uneasy. Okay, so first of all, we should say, what is a Scientologist? Okay, and you have these confused posts from these people in response to this clip. This is from Stephen Msheila. Stephen Msheila. I don't know who this guy is, but he says, "So is this a gospel song now? I know Will Smith is a Scientologist. So what in the Chandler Moore is going on here?" Again, Chandler Moore, was also in that clip. That's pretty funny. Stephen, that was good. That was good. I liked it. And then you have this post from Natalie Everhart. Again, I have no idea who this person is. This is actually in response to a random post about Tom Cruise and Will Smith standing on top of a skyscraper or sitting on top of a skyscraper. Big deal. It doesn't matter to me. Not a big deal to me. I don't care. She says this, though. This is what I care about. Most people are unaware that Will Smith is a longtime Scientologist and that he and his wife run a private school which uses Hubbard's teachings and methods. Okay, so I saw this and I realized that it was going to take a little bit more of a deeper dive to figure out what is going on. So I'm just gonna give you kind of what I came up with, the surface level stuff. Okay, first of all, I went to Scientology.org. Okay, I do have some Christian commentary on this as well that I'll go to later. But who better to hear about Scientology than Scientology.org themselves, whoever they are, right? So I go to Scientology.org, and there's this question right here. Exactly what I wanted to know. What is Scientology? You get the feeling that maybe some other people are confused about this as well. I certainly was. And this tells you who Hubbard was. You saw the name Hubbard in that other post. It says, developed by L. Ron Hubbard, Scientology is a religion that offers a precise path leading to a complete and certain understanding of one's true spiritual nature and one's relationship to self, family, groups, mankind, all life forms, the material universe, the spiritual universe, and the supreme being. They capitalize the supreme being. I wonder who they think that is. Scientology addresses the spirit, not the body or the mind, and believes that man is far more than a product of his environment or his genes. Scientology comprises a body of knowledge which extends from certain fundamental truths. Prime among these are: man is an immortal spiritual being. His experience extends well beyond a single lifetime. His capabilities are unlimited, even if not presently realized. Scientology further holds man to be basically good, and that his spiritual salvation depends upon himself, his fellows, and attainment of brotherhood within the universe. Okay, so there are about 3 or 4 different heresies, ancient heresies, that I noticed in that one little blob there. First of all, this to me seems like just a combination of like New Age, Gnosticism, mumbo jumbo, right? Like that's really what's going on here. And Gnosticism, for those of you who don't know what that is, or maybe you're like, hey, I've heard of that before, but where was that addressed? Was that addressed in the Bible? Yes, it was. There were whole letters to people in the New Testament that were written against the context of this idea of Gnosticism. this idea that maybe Christ wasn't a physical being, and that he was only only a spiritual being or something like that, right? And so did he actually die and that goes down a whole bunch of different rabbit trails. Yeah, but anyway, all you need to know for the purpose of this is that there's a little bit of that involved in here, and it's heresy. Furthermore, you see this this last paragraph, man. This is quite a this is quite a paragraph to write home about. Scientology holds man to be basically good. Okay, we dealt with this a couple weeks ago. If you're interested in learning more about the doctrine of original sin or of total depravity, there's a couple of places you can go. We did a video, our first episode of Calvinism Crash Course, when we went through the TULIP acronym. Of course, the first letter that Calvinism teaches, in the TULIP acronym, the T, the first point, is total depravity. So you can go look at our video on that. You can also go check out, we reacted to the Pope's comments about this a couple weeks ago as well. Feel free to go check those out. But no, man is not basically good, and that's heresy. Also, it says his spiritual salvation depends upon himself, his fellows, and his attainment of brotherhood within the universe. That's works salvation. I mean, even a pretty much brand new Christian should be able to identify that. So Scientology, we've just seen, it's heresy. It's not true Christianity, and it holds to a wrong understanding of God. Worships a different God. Okay, this worships a God that makes you work to attain your salvation. And it worships a God that thinks that you're basically good, okay? And this worships this worships a God who who would approve of this New Age Gnosticism mumbo jumbo, and that's not the God that we worship. Okay, the God that we worship has explicitly, he has clearly revealed His will on these things in His Word, on all these things that we just addressed in His Word. Okay. So let that be said, I don't want to keep going. There's other stuff, in that article, but I've had enough. We've seen enough. So this article comes from answersingenesis.org. That's the organization that Ken Ham, that would be the name that you'd recognize from that organization. This article was not written by Ken Ham, but it was written by, David Chakranarayan. Hopefully I got that right. David, if I'm wrong about that, I'm so sorry. Anyway, this article here identifies Scientology, you'll see that right there at the top, as a cult. A cult, okay? It's heresy. It's a cult. There's also this post here, this post on X from Apologia Studios. Again, Apologia Studios, you may recognize, one of the main guys there is Jeff Durbin, Zach Conover. They're very involved with that ministry, End Abortion Now. James White goes to this church, Apologia Church, that Apologia Studios came out of and is headquartered in. But there's also another podcast that's gained some steam from Apologia Studios, and that is this podcast you'll see here, Cultish. And Cultish basically does what you might expect it to by the name. It goes and it looks at different things that are cults and examines why they're wrong and why you should avoid them as Christians. And also it deals with things that are maybe cult-like, cult-ish, right? So anyway, that's kind of the point, the purpose of that show. And that show is really taken off as well. But here in this post, and you can watch the video if you'd like, which will be linked, but Apologia Studios identifies Scientology as a cult, okay? So again, we've talked about quite a few things here, but two things to remember about Scientology. It's heresy, meaning it's against the teaching of the Bible, and it's a cult, okay? Two things. Scientology is heresy and a cult. So now we come to the problem, okay? Will Smith is an avowed open member of this cult. Last I checked. And last I checked, There has not been any public affirmation that he is not part of this cult. Okay? And some people might say, well, maybe this song is his public affirmation of why he's not in this cult anymore or something like that. Well, here's the problem with that. Okay, here's the problem with that. I would like you to turn, if you have a Bible with you. If not, I'll put it up on the screen. To John chapter 4, verse 24, actually. It says this: God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. In spirit and truth. So, if Will Smith is still a Scientologist, then I would ask, why are these people, Kirk Cameron, what am I saying? Kirk Cameron is one of the best guys around, okay? If throughout this video I ever said Kirk Cameron, please disregard that. I'm talking about Kirk Franklin. Kirk Cameron is just a wonderful guy, great guy. I love Kirk Cameron, okay? Anyway, Kirk Franklin, okay? You have to ask yourself in this situation, they're not worshiping God in spirit and in truth, because Will Smith is worshiping a different God. Okay, do you see where the problem comes in? Okay, because there are other people, like I think I gave the example of For King and Country before, or like Christian artists who have had a country singer come on or something like that, right? The problem with that, or the difference, I guess I would say, is this is very clearly being billed as like a gospel song, a worship song. Okay, that's what this is being billed as. So when Will Smith, and number two, the other variable is that Will Smith is in a cult worshiping a different God. Okay, so that's what the problem is. The problem is not that Kirk Franklin decided to have a guy that's not a Christian come on to his song, or that Chandler Moore decided to have a guy that's not a Christian come on his song. No, that's not the point. That's not really what I see to be the problem. The problem is John 4 says that we need to worship God in spirit and in truth. Okay? And Will Smith is not worshiping God in truth. He's worshiping a different God. Okay? Do you see where the problem is there? You see where the problem is there? So I don't like I said, it's not a problem of of them having someone who's not a Christian on. That's not the problem. The problem is he's in a cult, worshiping another God, singing in a worship song, which means that while they're maybe worshiping God, while Kirk Franklin and Chandler Moore are worshiping God, this guy is worshiping something else, the supreme being. We saw it right on the Scientology website. And I would say that that's not something you want to be a part of as a Christian. Okay? It's not. It's not something that you want to be a part of. Primarily, the issue is John 4:24 says that those who worship God must worship him in spirit and in truth. Okay, so the fact that it's a worship song, number one, and the fact that this guy, Will Smith, is an avowed member of a cult, number two. Those are the two problems that I have with this specific collaboration. And you know what? The music might be great. The artists might be so incredibly talented. The light show might be great. The words might be great. But the thing that we're dealing with here is not any of those things. We're dealing with, are you worshiping God in spirit and in truth? Because that's what the Word of God says that we have to do. And so as a result of this, I would ask a couple of different things, okay? I would say that we as Christians should be mindful of those around us who might be members of a cult. Like if you have members of a cult around you, I mean, I've personally come across lots of Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and stuff like that, people like that. And if you have people around you like that, remember, those people are worshiping a different God. They're not worshiping the God of the Bible. Okay? So that means that they're not worshiping God in truth. And I would also say to someone like Will Smith, or to any of you out there who are not following just a basic, foundational, mainline understanding of the Scriptures. Okay, like I'm not talking about, like we talked about the Calvinism crash course thing a couple weeks ago. I'm not saying that like if you're not a Calvinist, you're not a Christian or something, or that if you're cessationist or continuationist or whatever, that you're not a Christian or anything. Like I'm not even really like nitpicking or anything. I'm just saying, like, if you don't hold to a basic foundational historical understanding of the Scriptures, okay, like if you don't hold to salvation by faith alone in Christ alone, if you don't believe that a person must trust in Christ alone to be saved, if you don't believe in like the Trinity, if you don't believe that Christ rose from the dead, all right, if you don't believe that Jesus is Lord, stuff like that, okay, if you don't believe these things, then I would say the same thing to you. You're not worshiping God in truth. Make that right today. Run to Christ. Run to the God of the Scriptures. Psalm 2 says, "Blessed are all who take refuge in him." Take refuge in him today. All right? Well, I hope you guys, like I said, have a great 4th of July. I hope you guys enjoy your time, and be safe, be well, and I will see you next time.